Good afternoon, folks. This is Deb, and this is your Shut the Fuck Up. Today's target is John Fetterman once again. So there is an article out there in the Huffington Post that he really just doesn't feel like showing up for work. He feels as though his mental health issues have been weaponized against him. Now, let me just say this, because I am not criticizing him for his mental health issues. From what I have seen, and I am on social media daily, I read, I can't tell you how many newspapers I read every day, how many magazine articles I read every single day. When I'm not at work, this is essentially what I do. All right. I don't see anybody weaponizing anything against his mental health issues. He had a former chief of staff write to his doctor saying he was concerned at some of the things he was seeing from John Fetterman, stating that he was clearly on a dangerous trajectory. And perhaps that was just somebody who knows him and respects him expressing concern for him. Because I certainly haven't seen anybody attacking John Fetterman. John Fetterman is complaining about things like he doesn't want to do town halls because he's afraid he's going to be criticized by his constituents. Well, that's part of your job. Your job is to face your constituents and explain your positions. Okay? He doesn't want to show up for votes because they're largely procedural and he's the last to be asked questions because of seniority. Well, that's also part of the job. There are other legislators in the very same position who show up for work every day. And as far as being questioned about any kind of health-related issues, who can be attacked more than Joe Biden? Every single day for the last 2 years of his presidency. His mental acuity, his ability to do the job, his fitness for the job was attacked on a daily basis, even as he was doing that job. And yet Joe Biden never failed the American people. He showed up every day, whether you liked it or not, and did his job. Not once did he whine to the media about not feeling like doing his job. So what are John Fetterman's constituents upset about? Well, maybe the fact that he showed up at Mar-a-Lago in January after Donald Trump was elected and even before his inauguration, calling him cordial and kind, a man who literally was on the road, calling him all kinds of names while he had his depressive breakdown. And the Republican Party following suit behind Donald Trump. Yet this man was kind and cordial. A lot of people were upset that John Fetterman did that, and rightfully so. Okay? He claimed there wasn't a constitutional crisis in February as the Trump administration began to dismantle departments within the government. He says he'd rather be spending time with his family than showing up for votes. He'd rather, quote, I just want to be in a room full of love. Well, that's not what politics is. It has never been that. It wasn't that when George Washington was president. It wasn't that when John F. Kennedy was president. It wasn't that when George W. Bush was president. And it's not that now, especially under Donald Trump. There is no room full of love here. There has never been a room full of love. So my problem with John Fetterman is shut the fuck up, and if you can't handle this job, resign so that we can put somebody in place to serve the American people. This is critical in the midst of all of this mess. We can't afford a John Fetterman right now thinking he can just stay home and miss votes. Since his election, he's missed 18.1% of the votes that he's been asked to give. We can't afford that anymore, especially right now with the Senate taking up Donald Trump's big, ugly bill that will slash health care for millions of Americans, take food out of the mouths of children, and put this country into a recession so that Donald Trump can give a tax break to the wealthiest people in this nation. We can't afford a John Fetterman in Pennsylvania right now. So if John Fetterman can't do the job, he needs to step aside so that they can appoint somebody to do the job until there is a special election. That is my problem with John Fetterman. And to exacerbate this problem, he also received a silver pager that was symbolic. He received that pager from Benjamin Netanyahu when he came here to visit, that was symbolic of the attacks that Netanyahu planned and executed against Syria and Lebanon, that were targeting Hezbollah, that killed 13 innocent people, including children. That's another thing his constituents are upset about. And yet John Fetterman, who shows up to work in shorts and sweatshirts every day, managed to put himself in a suit for his visit with Benjamin Netanyahu. Those are the things that are upsetting his constituents, but he needs to face those constituents and explain his position. He has also spent months now claiming he's not a progressive, even though he ran on a progressive platform to get elected to begin with. He owes his constituents an answer as to why he has now shifted positions on several of the things that he ran on. That is what you do when you are elected. It is part of your job, and it is not a room full of love. John Fetterman needs to step down, because the notion that we all have to change so that he can feel good about life is absurd. None of us feel good about life right now in America. Nobody is coming to us to help us. We are fighting this battle alongside others. We are not here to make John Fetterman comfortable. What John Fetterman ought to be doing in a swing state is doing town halls in red districts like other elected officials are. John Fetterman should be standing up and fighting Donald Trump like other elected officials are. And while we're all complaining that the Democrats should be doing more, and yes, some of them could be, John Fetterman is one of those Democrats who should be. I will talk to you all later.